Can you hear it? That's good level? Okay.
Shabbat Shalom. I don't know about the rest of you, but I had a week, I had a day, I had an afternoon, and Rick had to kind of talk me off the ledge right before we were coming. But there's something about, I walk in here and I hear Cindy's beautiful music and I see your faces, and somehow things get a little bit better and a little bit calmer. So thank you so much for being here tonight. For those of you who are joining us from home, we're happy that you're here too. And we'll continue by lighting our Shabbat candles. Kara, I sound very loud. Am I okay? Thank you. I'm reading on page 3. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehad liknei shel Shabbat.
And on page 5, you'll find the Kiddush.
Please rise if you can.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, bi'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'ma'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehila, lemikrai kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, Shabbat kodshecha bi'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. L'chaim.
And you may be seated. Let's read at the top of page 6. We enter this sanctuary together. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Continuing on page 10, by welcoming in Shabbat with some singing. We'll sing Hine Ma Tov and then Mayafe Hayom.
Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
How good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters dwell together.
Mayafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Mayafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
How lovely today is. Shabbat shalom. The bottom of that page. The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, the angels of peace. And with that, we will turn to page 20 and 21 and sing L'chado Di as we usually do. L'chado Di l'krat kala, Panei Shabbat l'kabbalah. L'chado Di l'krat kala, Panei Shabbat l'kabbalah. Shamor v'sachor b'debor echad, Hishmeyanu aham yachad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, Hashem uv'torah v'telatila. L'chado di l'krat kala, Panei Shabbat l'kabbalah. continuing on page 22, a song for Shabbat. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak and your faithfulness each night. With a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai! How very subtle your designs! A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this.
The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age they will produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my God, in whom there is no wrong.
And welcoming our Shabbat angels, please turn to page 24 and join me in Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashareh, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boahim Hashalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Barhuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sechem Hashalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Peace be to you, O ministering angels, messengers of the Most High, Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing.
We'll continue on page 26 with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bialma divra kirte v'yamlik malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye de kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvisman kariv. V'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivorach. Leolam olmei almaya. Yitbarak. Yitbarak v'yishbarak v'yishbarak v'yishramei v'yishramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudisha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushvechata v'nei hemata damiran bialma v'imaru. Amen. And we'll continue. At the bottom of page 29. What does it mean to be called to worship? All serious activity requires preparation. The prayers and blessings that precede the Baruch Hu are warm-ups for the individual. Now communal prayer begins. The leader asks, "Are you ready to pray?" And we respond, "Yes, let us pray." And if you'll please rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praised be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever.
Please join me at the top of page 29. Let's read this together. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. And please turn to page 31. And let's read at the top also together, the Ma'ariv Aravim. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from the evening flows. Your wisdom seeks the ways on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. And continuing on page 32, in the middle of the page, we sound so good together. Please continue. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Haho Amo Yisrael. And this brings us to the Shema and the V'ahavta, which you'll find on the Shema on page 34. Please join me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vayet. And please join me in reading the V'ahavta in English on page 37. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. And continuing on page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. And turning to page 40, we'll sing the beginning of Mi Chamoka and then recite the passages in the middle of the page. Mi Chamoka, Bailey Madonai, Mi Chamoka, Ner Dabar Kodesh, Nora Tahilo, Ose Fele, Nora Tahilo, Ose Fele. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders?
Your children witnessed your sovereignty, the sea splitting before Moses and Miriam. This is our God, they cried. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Gaal Yisrael. And turning to page 41. No? Oh, excuse me. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. And this brings us to the Vishamru, which you'll find on page 44. Please stand if you're able. Tambarito lam, Benin Israel, oh hit leolam, oh hit leolam, oh hit leolam, Vishamru, Bnei Israel, HaShabbat, Lasod HaShabbat, Ladoret Tambarito lam. Ki sheket yamim, Asa Adonai, Asa Adonai, et hashamayim v'et haaretz, Vishamru, Bnei Israel, et hashabbat, lasod et hashabbat, ladoret tambarito lam. Uvayom hashivi, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Vishamru, Bnei Israel, et hashabbat, lasod et hashabbat, ladoret tambarito lam. Be seated, please. This showed up in my email just yesterday. It's an Alden Salovi poem. And oftentimes when I'm doing the Amidah, I do kind of hold my Siddur to my heart, and he addresses that. So I wanted to share it with you tonight. Siddur. Sometimes I hold my Siddur against my chest, pressed to my heart like a dressing on a wound. They speak to each other in a language as sweet as love, as simple as hope, and as ancient as God's Spirit, hovering over the endless deep, calling through the darkness to summon the light, to receive the soul of prayer, yearning, ever yearning, to praise and sanctify God's holy name. And that brings us to the Amidah, which is our standing prayer. beginning on page 46. We'll first do the intention, and then again, as we always say, this is your opportunity to just speak to God however you would like to, by reading the words in the Siddur, saying the words in your heart, just closing your eyes and listening to the quiet for a while. So please rise. Adonai Sefatai Tivtak Ufi Yakita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the people of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
So this Shabbat's Torah portion is Korach, and it's from the book of Numbers. And in this portion, a man named Korach, who happens to be Moses' cousin, challenges Moses for the right to be the leader of the children of Israel. Korach and his two sons, in fact, lead a rebellion against Moses and Moses' brother Aaron. When Korach confronts Moses, he asks, "Why do you think you are the one to be the leader of our nation?" Korach came from a great family himself, and he could have been a great asset to Moses and Aaron, but instead he chooses to be their nemesis. Korach accuses Moses of seeking too much power and prestige for himself. But Korach is way off base in this accusation. The Torah testifies that Moshe was exceedingly humble, more so than any person on the face of the earth. In this world, we have all seen that there are two kinds of people. There are givers, people who are looking for opportunities to help, to assist others, and there are takers, people who are looking to further add to their own possessions, to satisfy their own needs and obtain more. The takers are never satisfied. They always want more, and they are always jealous of what others have. This following story, appears in the classic 16th century book of Jewish ethics, The Ways of the Righteous is the title of the book. And the story goes like this. A lustful man and a jealous man met a king, and the king said to them, "One of you may make a request which I will fulfill, provided that I give twice as much of the exact same thing to your companion." So, for example, if he were to ask for 1,000 shekels, he would give the other guy 2,000 shekels. If he were to ask for a tract of land, he would give the other guy twice as much land. So the jealous man did not want to ask first because he didn't want his companion to receive twice as much. And the lustful man didn't want to ask first because he wanted everything of what belonged to both of them. The lustful man finally pressed the jealous man to go ahead and ask. And the jealous man thought for a long time, and then he asked the king to pluck out one of his eyes. Because, you can see where this is going, then his companion would be blinded by having both of his eyes plucked out. At the very beginning of Korach's story, the Torah reveals the root of his, Korach's, downfall, and fall downward he did. And by the end of this Torah portion, the earth opens and swallows Korach and his few rebellious followers. Korach was a taker. He wanted more honor for himself, even though he was already a privileged man. He was privileged to be in the tribe of Levi, but that wasn't enough for him. He believed he needed more. He wanted a prominent communal position and was jealous of the honor that Moshe and Aaron were getting. His jealousy knew no bounds, and Korach did whatever he could to obtain that honor, even though it meant starting a rebellion. As absurd as the story of the king and the two men may sound, the effects of jealousy are not. Being jealous and lusting after what others have is inane, and it fills one with frustration, not satisfaction. This week's Parsha tells the story of a rebellion led by a man named Korach. The sages say he was jealous over the fact that a family relative was appointed to a higher leadership position. But, as it says in the Talmud, jealousy, desire, and pride take a person out of this world. Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto explains that maybe there's a positive side to jealousy, but I wouldn't use the word jealousy to describe that kind of mindset. I would instead call it looking at positive role models and trying to emulate their positive traits. For example, You might say, I really admire this friend of mine who takes his school seriously, studies hard. I want to be more like that. Or, I know someone who is so loving and patient with his family. That's the kind of person I want to be. That's how I want to behave. I was talking with a friend who was performing a great mitzvah for his father. And when I asked him about his motivation for doing this, he said he believes you should treat your father the same way you want your son to treat you. The psychologists say that you can experience transformation in your life if you think of all that you have and not all that you want. Korach could have found peace if he had chosen to be Moses' ally rather than his adversary. And once again, the Torah teaches us a lesson. Jealousy can destroy a person, and a well-lived life is one that is filled with the satisfaction of being content with what we have. As Bob Dylan sings, don't go mistaking paradise for that home across the road. Shabbat Shalom. And we'll continue on page 190 and 91. At the very bottom of the page, it starts with, even if our mouths were full of song as the sea, and our tongues full of joy in countless waves, and our lips full of praise as wide as the sky's expanse, and were our eyes to give off light like sun and moon, if our hands were to spread out like heaven's eagles, and our feet swift like young deer, we could never thank you adequately, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors, or bless your name for the 1,000th of the many thousands, or tens of thousands, the countless times that you granted good things to our ancestors and to us.
This brings us to our words of healing. We'll turn to page 253.
Before we do that, may I read one little line?
Of course,
Sure.
Diana.
I read this when we were on this page, and it's so true and heartwarming. It says, every word of one's prayers should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers rose upon rose until a bouquet is formed and can be offered to God as a beautiful blessing.
That is
Isn't that
beautiful.
Yes, very.
Thank you for sharing that, for sure. Okay, I'm going to get myself on the right page before we begin. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless these members of our community: Heather Becker, Joan Bloomfield, Robin Cohen, Marcia Gay Gans, David Hayes, Diana Heller, Rob Hirsch, Panina Kolakant, Barbara Kurtzman, Kit Levine, Sharon Maslow, Rick Moss, Dave Podolsky, Anastasia Rololemos, I hope I said that. It's a beautiful name. Margaret Schmidt, Elliot Schwartz, Cheryl Schelleb, John Sitters, Melanie Spielman, Rebecca Woolis. And if there's anybody else that you'd like us to hold in our thoughts and prayers tonight, please say their name.
Jackson Moss.
Jackson Moss. Laurie Foster. Please join me in singing the Misha Barak. Mechor habraha laimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberak Mekor Habraha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And turning to page 282 for the Aleinu. Please stand if you're able. Aleinu leshaberak ladona kol latet gedula let sebreshit shelo asanu aratzot velo samanu b'mishpachot adama shelo samhalkenu klam v'gor aleinu kechol hamana v'anachnu korim u'mishtahavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Top of the next page. Shehu notei shamayim yoser haaretz u'moshav ikaro b'shamayim imamo u'shriman huzo begovim meromi u'Eloheinu eino emet malkeinu efesulato kakatu v'torato hayom v'hashivato elevavecha ki Adonai hu halim b'shamayim haaretz mitachat einot v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yehi Adonai echad u'shemo echad. And as Rick closes the doors, you may be seated. Thus it has been said, Adonai will be sovereign over all the earth. On that day, Adonai will be one, and God's name will be one. Continuing at the top of that page. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the sea, and the light up the universe with joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. Somebody we know always says, from our lips to God's ears. I just hope that this message is being conveyed tonight. I would like to wish some people a happy birthday, Carrie Freitas Field's birthday is today. Daniel Barrera is celebrating on Monday, and Eric Horman on Thursday. And Bonnie and Bernie Weiss are celebrating an anniversary on Monday. So we wish them well. And please check Mindy sent out a great newsletter today, so please, if you haven't read it yet, make sure you do, and you'll know other things that are going on in our community. Okay, and that brings us to the Mourner's Kaddish, which you will find on page 294. This Shabbat, we remember Estelle Weiss, mother of Donna Weiss-Jones, Carol Gavant, sister of Arlene McDonald, John Forrest Lyers, father of Wendy Lyers, Erin Patricia Lyers, sister of Wendy Lyers, Nick Bensusan, cousin of Linda Pryor, Max Carroll of blessed memory. And we remember Charlotte Scheinach, aunt of Michelle Shear Robles and Don Shear Daner, and John Wheaton, friend of Joel and Diane Chesler, who passed away this month. And we take into our hearts all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. And Arlene, I'm going to bring this down to you. Would you like to come and light the candle in memory of your sister?
Something else.
Well, I hope this wasn't a mistake because it's a TV tray.
Oh, God.
Sometimes my good ideas.
This way.
Yes. Yeah, so we have to get the legs up.
I collapsed.
I'm so sorry. This was,
I could have gone up. Oh, dear.
okay.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Well, there's no wick.
We're just having a time tonight, aren't we? Okay, let's try that. Okay. Please rise if you're able. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirute v'almik malchute, b'hayehon uvyomehon, uvhaye dekol bet Yisrael, b'gala uvizman kariv v'immeru amen. Yehe shemi rabba mevorach, leolam omei omaya, yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitabar v'yitaman v'yitnaseh, Viet Hadar, Viet Taleh, Viet Halal, Shemei de Kudasha, Brihu. Leolam min kol bir hata v'shirata, tush v'hata v'nehamata, damiram bi'ama v'immeru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'hayim aleinu v'akol Yisrael, v'immeru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, Aleinu v'akol Yisrael, v'immeru, amen. And be seated. Let's end tonight with En Kelohenu, and you'll find the words on page 322. you so much, Cindy, for being here. Kira, as always, thank you for all of your help. And at the top of page 345, please read with me. May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find their way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. We wish you a wonderful holiday weekend as you celebrate the 4th of July. Remember, it's Independence Day, and maybe we can hold in our hearts that none of us are free or independent until everyone is free and independent. So as we celebrate this weekend, that's what I'm going to be thinking about. We have a lovely oneg, so please join us for Kiddush and oneg. And again, Shabbat Shalom.